Hey, all you Arizona lovers. This is the Finding Arizona podcast. I'm your host, Jose.
And I'm your producer, Brittany.
And here at Finding Arizona podcast, we collect the local stories of all entrepreneurs and from around the valley. So join us at findingarizonapodcast.com, where you can hear every episode and see it as well at
YouTube. Like, subscribe, and comment below who you want to see next on our show. And when you're ready to start your podcast, you found the right spot. Found House, your next podcast production company.
Now, let's get back to the show. Score big with SeatGeek. Whether it's concerts, sports, or live events, SeatGeek has you covered. Use code FindingArizona to get a fantastic $20 discount on your SeatGeek tickets. Catch your favorite live events hassle-free with extra savings. Visit SeatGeek.com and make every experience unforgettable. Welcome back, everybody, to the Finding Arizona podcast. I'm your host, Jose. We bring in very special guests every week, and today is no different. I'd love to introduce Jason here, who is the creator behind A Safe Pool. Thank you so much for joining us, Jason. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Jose.
Absolutely. So, this is really an interesting topic. I've had this conversation before about safety with another person who's come in one of our episodes, but this one in particular, as a father of a young child and someone who actually owns a home. And on top of that, a little bit more dynamics. Our home was built in the 1940s. And so this is a home without a safety barrier that didn't have it in the beginning. And when we had our newborn, we were like, we have to make sure that there are protocols, because we didn't want to be a part of any statistics that we hear on a very routine basis in the summertime especially. But we wanted to make sure that we covered all of our bases, especially with having him. And so I'm very, very, very excited and interested in talking to you about this kind of stuff. So I will ask you the question that I ask everyone is, give us a little bit of your origin story of how you got into this business and why it's so important to you.
Sure. Really, I kind of got into the business, Jose, by accident, really. It wasn't something that was planned out. My wife and I were building a pool. This is 20 years ago.
Yeah.
We were building a pool, and our first daughter wasn't even born yet. But
Wow.
we had two dogs that could not swim,
Oh.
and we did not want to find one of them, in the pool, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we were at a home and garden show, and I saw this product, this removable pool fencing, and I thought, oh, well, this is kind of neat and whatever. And there were a couple of different companies there, and one company's material kind of stood out to me as being a little bit better quality. And it's just, I'll give you the really short version, Jose. Just
Sure.
I left the guy's booth, and he didn't ask for my information. He didn't book an appointment. So I had a conversation with my wife, and I said, I think we need to look into this. I had a couple of other businesses, and had basically been an entrepreneur my whole life. But anyway, so we talked, and I started looking into the product, and I actually called the guy and said, hey, can you come give us an estimate? He never called back.
Oh my goodness.
I called again. He never called back. And then I called the third time, and I said, hey, if you want to sell your business, give me a call. and he called me.
That's funny.
So anyway, I ended up not buying his business. We just couldn't agree on terms and stuff. But I started investigating products and found a supplier, and worked with that supplier for a few years. And then now we develop our own product. We manufacture our own product. We have our own manufacturing facility.
Wow.
Traditionally, I've had a dealer network around the country that we provide the product to, and they go out and do the estimates and sell it and install it at homeowners' homes. So it's really, it's been a really neat story for us. We started in our garage 20 years ago, and now we have locations all over the country.
See, I love these kinds of stories. Especially, it means a lot to me, being that someone who does this for a living. It's one of those things where it's like, I never intended this to kind of grow into what it was, as far as interviewing people and meeting new business owners. My whole story was that this was also a garage-based kind of interview style show, and I was doing screen printing for T-shirts for businesses. And you just kind of talk to the owner and get to know them, why they get in the shirts, what is it that they do, sort of thing. And I've always had a blast doing it because I grew up around storytelling my entire life, and it's just been something that I've cultivated as far as like its importance to me, and learning about people's story and why they do what they do. But the reason that I kind of continued on this adventure was the fact that it means so much to the owners to get their story out and get who they are out and why they love what they do, just because on different scales of like your own story of like you had intentions to be safe around your animals. And that is something so beautiful and so touching, because I also own animals. But that was actually one of the first inklings of this safety and pool that we've did an interview with someone who was working on construction on their home, and they too had a pool and a dog that didn't know how to swim. And unfortunately, they had the incident where the dog was by the pool and it had the clear wrap on top of it. Dog got interested, got tangled up in the wrap, fell into the pool, and unfortunately passed away. And she now started a nonprofit that goes around and teaches pool safety for animals, for homeowners, so that they are knowledgeable about what they should be aware of when it comes to construction, when it comes to safety around pools and around home construction and things like that. So that that incident doesn't happen to other homeowners as well. So,
Yeah.
it's tough. It's a tough story to hear.
Yeah, no, it's extremely important. I mean, look, our main focus is children, right? And
Yeah.
drowning is the leading cause of death in children under the age of 6 in this country, and it's also the most preventable.
Yes.
We can't prevent things like car accidents and illnesses and stuff like that, but I mean, this is something that can absolutely be prevented.
Mhm.
And but a number of pets drowned as well. And typically people don't call until something has happened to one of their pets, and then they call. And so I would encourage everybody to, be proactive about that.
Yeah.
Don't wait for something to happen. Wait. It's a very inexpensive option. It's a removable product. You can take it up and down whenever you want. It's just, we have to protect, our kids and pets, from drowning, period.
It's definitely important, and that's something that, again, we're really glad that you're here to talk to us about. One of the things that I like to get into is the kind of interpersonal relationships too, when it comes to business and business owners and entrepreneurs, especially when it comes to like starting your own business or wanting to start your own business. And I'm married. I work with my significant other. It was a lot of back and forth on how we're going to do this, what we're going to take as the challenge of starting our own business. I love to like kind of get your perspective, especially in that early beginning. You had mentioned that you wanted to buy the business from him, from that kind of pivotal moment of like your interests. What was that dynamic conversation like with your wife, and like starting this business and taking on control, or just the idea of like wanting to prevent these kind of incidences from happening?
Yeah, look, we had lengthy conversations about it, and our by the time I had started the business, our first daughter had just been born.
Yeah.
So we knew that we needed safety around our pool, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so we just it wasn't even a question mark, right? I mean, we were looking for safety for the dogs before our children were born. So protecting the kids was absolutely a no-brainer, right? But so we saw a need. This is something this isn't a luxury item. This is something that people need. And we investigated the industry, and just found that it was lacking some quality and systems. And there was a lot of just kind of one-man shows out there operating out of their garage, and just really they were business owners, but it really wasn't a business. It didn't have the structure. It didn't have all the processes in place. And so we just kind of saw an opportunity to change an industry, really.
Yeah.
And it's something that my wife and I work together and have since day one. So, tradition, when we first started, I was kind of a one man show too, right?
Yeah.
And was out there selling it. I actually was installing it. And, it didn't take me very long to figure out, if I'm going to grow this thing, I can't be hovering over a drill all day, right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
hired our first installer, who was actually still with us today. So,
Nice.
yeah, 20 years later.
I
So,
love that.
shout out to him. Shout out to Emilio Flores, man. He's awesome.
Yeah, Emilio. I mean, it's really great that again, when you start off in this business or in any kind of business, that you um, really learn. I think it's important to really learn all the facets of what you're trying to provide service wise. Like you were the person who was installing it. You were also the person making the contacts and stuff. You really need to get your feet wet in all those different departments, sort of deal. And then you can hire out and really kind of expand your plate.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, any business owner, I don't care what kind of business you have to know how to do every part of that business.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't care if it's an HVAC company or a plumbing company or, whatever it is, you need to know your business inside and out. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love, because you brought this up, and the kind of Arizona in particular, I like to say, is still kind of that Wild West kind of ideals of like working out of your garage and starting a business from the ground up. And once you start to propel yourself forward, I think it's really kind of interesting of what you kind of come up with and start to really push out the doors as far as new products, new services. I think what I'd like to ask you is like, what do you think makes you guys a little bit different when it comes to these kind of guys who are just starting out and people who are just, different from what you're standing on right now from your own business? Because Arizona in particular is probably next to California, next to some of these other states. One has different laws, but also is population wise one of the most populated pool homes, like pool to home ratios, that you can have this clientele to start really grabbing up.
yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. So, I mean, Arizona has, in Maricopa County, basically in the surrounding areas, there's roughly 1 million pools here.
Wow.
So, I mean, you can see when you're flying in and out of the airport, I mean, you look down and I mean, every single house has a pool, right? It's very odd not to have a pool here.
Yeah.
So, and there are different pockets like that around the country. California is another one that significant number of pools. Florida, Texas. I mean, everywhere where it's really warm, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I think Florida, actually has the most per, capita or per home.
Okay.
Very rare to find a home without a pool in Florida, for sure. But
yeah,
you asked what sets us apart, Jose. I mean, it's a number of things. First and foremost, it's our product.
Mm-hmm.
It's we really try to make the absolute best pool fence that we can.
Yeah.
Regarding the strength of the poles and the strength of the material that we use, the powder coating that we do, the thickness of that. It's very important that this product has some longevity to it, and and it's something I mean, the sun here in Arizona, it's brutal. Right?
Yeah, that's just something that people don't realize when it comes to product style sales. When it, in particular to Phoenix, it's like the sun is a notorious, like, it's either going to rot or something is going to happen because of the sun, the coloration, those types of things where it's like, unless you're utilizing or using it on a daily basis, like you have gone through the testing of it, you got to make sure it's like that type of stuff is important when it comes to your product.
Yeah, for sure. A competitor of ours uses fiberglass poles, and that fiberglass in Arizona is not a good mix, right? So it dries out very rapidly, and then it becomes very dangerous, really, to kids. I mean, that fiberglass will dry out, and then it's begins to splinter. So, wow. I mean, you can't even rub your hands on it, right, without getting little slivers of glass in your hands. So, it's important for consumers to do a little bit of research on, what they're getting, what type of product they're getting, what kind of warranty is involved, who's making the product, right? I mean, we are the manufacturer, so there isn't any finger pointing going on with us. Like, there's an issue, it's on us. So I'm not pointing the finger at, oh, well, I got it from this guy over here, so go talk to him.
Yeah.
So, it's the quality of our product. It's the systems that we have in place, Jose. I mean, we actually franchise locations. So,
Okay.
so we vet these people. They are, uh, background checks, and are they financially stable, and
Yeah.
credit checks, all this kind of stuff. I mean, we want good, quality candidates out there
Absolutely.
representing, if they're out there representing our product and our name.
Yeah.
So, and then we have a number of systems in place. They come in out here to Phoenix for training. Typically, it's a 2-week deal, and so we don't turn them loose until we're confident that they're ready to go, right?
Yeah.
And even when they do go home, then we have those systems in place.
Yeah.
We have the marketing systems in place. We have the quality control systems in place. It's
Beautiful.
a turnkey deal, right? We
Beautiful.
just looking for good, qualified, self-motivated people.
Absolutely. I think that's really wonderful too, because again, one of the aspects that I find very interesting when it comes to certain businesses is the education part, the techniques, making sure that your employees are just as, safety inclined when it comes to, like, again, your customer is going to ask questions after it's installed. I know for us, when we installed our safety barrier, we had 1,000 questions on, like, removal, how to, maintain its kind of upkeep. If there's anything that we need to, like, do for, like, when we do take it down, or if we do take it down, like, what things to keep in mind when it comes to, maintenance, or things like that. It's like those types of things are just surface level, but then you get into, some of the nitty gritty stuff of, like, what if there's, an interesting aspect of it does, bend, or, bendage in a certain, kind of incident, or whatever it may be. How do we call you guys to come fix it, or should we call you guys to come fix it? Those types of questions. And I'm just going off of what I would experience from just kind of what we went through. But yeah, it's just, again, I think that having your employees be on the same page as you, as far as when it comes to these installations, when it comes to the actual questioning after it's installed, it's like these types of things are important.
Yeah, no, it's very important to, this is a product that, we need to be there, after the sale is completed, right?
Hmm.
We want to make sure that, the fences are safe, that the gates are functioning properly, and that's anybody out there with a removable fence, or no matter what type of fence you have around your pool, you need to check that gate,
Yeah.
regularly, to make sure that it's self-closing, self-latching, it's aligned properly.
Yeah.
With the extreme temperature changes that we have here in Arizona, it's not uncommon for those gates to come out of alignment a little bit. It's a very simple adjustment, right? But we want to make sure that those are getting done,
Yeah.
And then, you mentioned the employees, and this is a key component to, our business. I mentioned Emilio, the very first installer we hired 20 years ago, is still with us, right? And I can tell you our average tenure of an installer here is 10 years.
Wow.
So I'm a huge believer in, on the business side of it, right? Where when you find good people, you have to pay them well, treat them well, respect them,
Yeah.
let their voices be heard. But it's also important to find people that follow your philosophies, and
Mhm.
and buy into what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Not monetarily. I mean, but they're in it, right?
Yeah.
They
They
believe in
understand the
what,
importance
yeah,
too.
they believe in what they're doing. I mean, we're not just, slapping a coat of paint on a floor somewhere, right?
Yeah.
We're protecting children's lives
Yeah.
here. That's a very important thing, on the installation side of things, to make sure that that's done perfectly.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have a great head on your shoulders when it comes to this kind of things and the importance behind it. I love to kind of pivot a little bit. And one of the things that, I dabble and do practice landscape architecture. And one of the things that I find interesting is kind of new products, new techniques, and new technologies that come out with different, any kind of vendor or any kind of product that is out there. I like to ask you about that kind of stuff, something that you might be interested for, someone who's going to put up a new barrier in the future or something like that piques your interest. But I'd also kind of like to ask you if there's anything that's ever been kind of interesting as far as installation wise, as far as like, because there are some unique pools out there. There are some very interesting waterfalls, and just something that's kind of like, this was an interesting way that we had to go about doing our part of the install because of these unique facets or anything like that, if anything's ever stood out to you. But yeah, those two questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So yeah, our product line is constantly evolving,
Mhm.
right? And it's typically evolving out of necessity, right?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
we run into issues or challenges on job sites. Every yard is different,
Unique.
right?
Yeah.
And I would say, look, I mean, 70 or 80% of the jobs that we do are very straightforward and
Mhm.
very normal,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
but it's that other 20% that are unique and require uh, some thinking and some ingenuity, and you walk in the backyard and you're like, okay, how are we going to tackle this? And
Yeah.
and we just we figure out a way, right? But all of the like the, we have a lot of little specialty products. We have corner posts for hard angles in a fence.
Okay.
We have what we call a terminating post, where we don't, because this fence requires tension on both sides, right?
Uh-huh.
So if we're terminating up against a house and we don't want to drill a hole in the house to put an anchor in it, we have our own standalone post that's also removable that we can utilize to
Nice.
hold that tension. Um, Historically, we always made these fences with, the top caps on all the poles were kind of a rubberized material.
Yeah.
And, we found that, after several summers in Arizona, they kind of started looking like burnt marshmallows to me,
Yeah.
and so we changed that. Now it's a hard PVC product.
Wow. Nice.
So we don't have, we all want it to be aesthetically pleasing too,
Yeah.
right? And I don't want a product that's sitting out there that looks like it's rotting in the sun, right?
Yeah.
So just little tweaks like that we've made over the years, and continue to do so. We deal with a variety of different types of surfaces, right, that we're drilling into. So
Mhm.
we're not just drilling with old concrete decks that everybody used to do, right?
Yeah.
We deal with, I mean, travertine and pavers and limestone and flagstone, and
Mhm.
now porcelain tile is very popular and common, right?
Doesn't that seem to crack a little bit easier?
Yeah, that porcelain tile is. I, I wish I could talk to our customers before they decide to use it, but number one, it's very expensive.
Yeah.
But it looks nice, so people like it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. It's very brittle.
Yeah, that's what I was like. Once you start to like drill in, you got to be kind of
Super careful.
careful.
Yeah, and chipping and cracking and stuff like that is very limited and rare, but it can happen. I mean, we use a very specialized piece of equipment
Yeah.
to drill those holes. It's a core drill. It's a wet application that has a diamond tip bit on it.
Got it. Yeah.
It's we do everything that we can to minimize that, but yeah, I really wish people would steer away from that porcelain tile, but that we deal with it.
Hey man, I get it. Those are the types of things that people like. Again, it's like you wouldn't get that anywhere else besides me asking. And so it's like that type of thing is very interesting to me because again, those are the in the weeds kind of questions that not a lot of people ask about. And maybe you help someone, just help them make a decision on what they choose as a surfacing.
Yeah, yeah, and don't put a dark colored deck down.
Yes.
It looks pretty, but it gets so hot in the summer you cannot walk on it. Right?
Exactly.
So it's you have to wear shoes back and forth to the pool.
I get it. No,
yeah.
we were ours is just concrete around it, and it's pretty standard normal stuff, but we have just kind of like this, we put in a paint, that kind of reflective paint, and just wanted to kind of really stop it from capturing heat a little bit. And it was like when it was just bare concrete, it was hot on the feet, and you're just like like running
Yeah.
towards the house and running back onto the deck and stuff like that as fast as you can.
Yeah, no, that Cool Deck product is great.
Yeah.
It looks good, and it keeps the deck, nice and cool even when it's 115 degrees outside.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, we're getting into the weeds here, and I
Yeah.
do thoroughly enjoy it because again, it's the types of things like that where you stand out from just, your run of the mill kind of like installer that just goes in and out and doesn't really, it doesn't pique their interest. They're just there for the install and trying to get out as fast as they can. But it's important, these types of questions and things like that, where it shows that you're interested in what you're doing, and it shows that you care a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Look, our number one priority is safety, right?
Yeah.
But then, a close second to that is aesthetics, right? We want this fence to be safe and functional and do its job, but then we want to do that in a way that leaves the rest of the yard and the pool area as unchanged as possible.
Yeah.
Right? We don't want to disrupt the flow of the backyard, but we have to protect the little ones.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we reach and pivot towards this kind of next couple of questions, I look towards the future and just kind of like what you guys are intending to go as far as goals. If there's anything uniquely, changing about what you're doing in the next couple of years, I'd love to kind of ask those types of like, what are some things for you as you move forward into 2025 and the next couple of years, what they look like for at Safe Pool?
Yeah. So Jose, you're going to be the first to hear this. We haven't even published it on our website yet.
I'm excited.
The website and social media stuff is getting geared up right now to announce this next week. But we just signed an agreement with Michael Phelps, and he is our ambassador.
Nice.
Now, and so we are collaborating with Michael and his foundation.
Cool.
And so the Michael Phelps Foundation is all about water safety.
Yeah.
And so it was just a really good marriage, if you will, for a Safe Pool and Michael Phelps to team up to really just to educate people, right? And to bring water safety to the front of a conversation.
Yeah.
And get people talking about it.
I love that.
Yeah. So, he is passionate about this just as much as we are.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're super excited about the partnership with Michael Phelps.
That's again, like you said, a marriage of really good benefits for both of you. I think it is something that, from his perspective of just being this kind of elite individual athlete,
greatest ever
swimmer.
Yeah.
But on top of that, you add in this kind of level of like, he's now a father. He's becoming more, entrenched in coaching or just being around other Olympic swimmers of the new generation. It is very much a suitable fit to want to introduce pool safety and water safety into his, diaspora of like things that he does. And it's really great that you guys had the kind of connection that you did. I'd love to really ask, like, did you reach out to him?
How did that happen?
Yeah. How did that happen?
I'll give you the very short version, Jose.
Sure.
A good friend of mine is Brock Osweiler.
Oh, nice.
Brock Osweiler, I've known him for probably 10 years and, play a lot of golf with Brock. And Brock and his brother are actually the owners of our Phoenix location.
Ah, that's awesome.
And so I was having lunch with Brock one day and he said, I should ping Phelps to see if he wants to, collaborate with it. And I'm like, what do you mean ping Phelps? What? Like, why didn't we talk about this a year ago? And it's
so funny how things work.
So, Brock made that introduction and we just, worked with his team and about coming up with what worked for everybody and what sort of role he would play and all of that. So I won't get into all the nitty gritty.
Yeah, you don't need to, and I wouldn't want to do that to you anyways.
Yeah, so
it's just really cool story.
Yeah, it's really cool how that happens. And just it really just kind of happened organically. Really,
For sure.
But you spoke about Michael it's more than him just being the greatest swimmer ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's he is a dad of 4 young boys.
Yeah.
And they have entrusted a safe pool to protect their own kids.
Yeah.
And so I think, he can speak to, the product and us and, our philosophies just really aligned, and the foundation, his foundation does a lot of great work, promoting water safety, all over the world, basically. I mean, because he is a global brand.
Yeah, absolutely.
They do some work with the Special Olympics and and they're into the mental health side of things, not only with adults but with children, and so we're really excited to be able to help and promote the Michael Phelps Foundation. Every estimate that we do across the country now is we're educating people about the foundation, about the work that it's doing.
Absolutely.
They have an opportunity to donate and round up, and so we're really trying to just really educate people about water safety and make sure that look, I mean, Jose, our ultimate goal is to get the number of drownings to 0, right?
Absolutely. No one wants to hear these stories of like preventative things that, gosh, I'll tell you this, like I turn on, I don't turn on the news. I go to the gym and the news is broadcasted onto the gym TVs that I go to, and I don't listen to them. I just look at the bylines, like the lower thirds, and 5 times out of the year, maybe even more than that, just in the summer months, is just these horrible stories, and you see the crying mothers and family members, and it's so scary because it happens so quickly and happens so easily because of the ages. They're just running outside, or they're trying to get out and play and do the things that they love to do, and it's just, it happens so fast. And like you and I were discussing, it's just like these are preventative in the fact that you can have a barrier, you can have protocols, you can have locks, making sure that the door, when it's open or ajar, that you're notified. All these types of things can be in place or installed so that there are barriers to before the incident happens. And I think as we educate ourselves and learn about these different types, it's like the realization is like, is your home filled with these barriers so that your child or your family member who is of this age, or these safety measures are in place so that your home is fully capable to have these safety measures installed. So it's like,
I mean, we're big believers in multiple layers of protection, right? Yes. Where multiple things have to fail before we have an incident or an accident, right? Yes. So, I mean, at the top of the list is supervision, right? Mm-hmm. We have to keep our eye on our kids, but and we want to do that the best we can, but it's impossible to keep your eyes on your kids, especially if you throw a second or third one in the mix.
Oh yeah. Right? I'm like,
look at, can you imagine? Michael and Nicole Phelps' house, right? I mean,
4 running around,
boys running around. I mean, you cannot keep your eyes on all of that at once, right? So, we're a big believer in multiple layers, right? Mm-hmm. But supervision, a barrier around the pool, high latches on doors. We have door alarms if you want to go to that extent, where it'll, if the button's not pushed, before the door's open, or if the door's open too long, it didn't latch properly, an alarm will sound. So we want multiple things to have to fail before we have an incident or an accident.
Absolutely. Well, I do appreciate you, Jason, for giving us the inside scoop on this, and I look forward to seeing more from both yourself and from Michael, just kind of introducing this new partnership. So good luck, and I have high hopes and know that you're going to be just fine in the future. But again, on top of that, you're a father, so I hope that your family is. Well, I know that they're probably really proud of what you do and who you are as a person because of the amount of simply just lives that you've saved with just a simple product like this and simple like things that need to be in place to make sure people are going about things safely. So kudos to
Yeah.
you. Whatever. I just wish that people will go out and seek you and have a conversation and just educate themselves on pool safety, water safety, whatever it may be, to help prevent these types of things. And like you said, get down those statistics down to zero so that we don't have any of these issues in the future, and hope that that is our future for a brighter tomorrow. And we do leave this little end portion here to allow you to let everyone know where they can find you, the phone number, the email, whatever it may be that can help themselves to reach out to you and seek you out.
Yeah, sure. So, and thank you for your time, Jose. Today, I'm always willing to sit down with whoever to promote safety and water safety, pool safety specifically. But
Yeah.
you can find us at asafepool.com. And locally here in Arizona, you can reach the local Arizona office at 480-622-0706. And you'll be speaking with Brock's brother, Tanner. He's happy to come out and meet with you and discuss, how to make your pool area safe for your kids or your pets.
Well, thank you, Jason. Thank you to Brock and his brother Tanner for taking up the mantle on the Phoenix end, and that's where I'm at, Phoenix. And then good luck for everything in the future. Honestly, I do look forward to seeing a lot more and seeing how that all rolls out with the team and social media wise. I'm excited for you guys. That's going to be a lot of fun. And we do have a little outro for ourselves. You can hear every episode of our podcast at findingarizonapodcast.com. We make it easy for you to connect with us on social media, Finding Arizona Podcast under everything. And last but not least, we end every conversation with the kisses, hugs, and belly rubs to our four-legged friends. And we will see you next time.